Todd is P1. Johnny Prince is PA. Todd is first. That Canadian guy is P4 on softs. Jason Short from New Zealand is P2. Todd is first. Chris Butt is P6 on mediums. Johnny Prince is 8th. Todd is first. Jason Short is second. Todd is P1. Johnny Prince is P8 on hards. Chris Butt is P6. YH8 Racing is 8th on mediums. Todd is first. The race dictator is P5 on softs. Best lap is a 1:45.449. Jason Short is P2 on hards. Todd is first. Chris Butt from New Zealand is P6. The qualification session is at Barcelona City. The race dictator from New Zealand is first on softs. Chris Butt from New Zealand is P2 on softs. Illis from New Zealand is P4 on softs. The race dictator is P1. That Canadian guy from Canada is P6 on mediums. Illis is P4. Ten minutes remaining in the session. The race dictator is first. The race dictator improved his first with a 1:46.225. Chris Butt is P2. Chris Butt is provisional pole with a 1:45.922. YH8 Racing from New Zealand is third up 9.34 on hards. ILISP is provisional pole with a 145.131. YH8 Racing improved his P4 with a 202.676. 17.545 off pole. The race dictator is P4 up 0.63. Best lap is a 146.225. 1.094 off pole. Todd is provisional pole with a 145.069. Jason Short is provisional pole with a 144.631. The race dictator is provisional pole with a 144.491. Chris Butt is 6th. Chris Butt improved his 6th with a 145.409. 0.918 off pole. That Canadian guy is P5 up 0.18. YH8 Racing is P7. YH8 Racing improved his P7 with a 149.160. 4.669 off pole. Five minutes remaining in the session. YH8 Racing improved his 7th with a 147.526. 3.035 off pole. Todd is provisional pole with a 144.243. Jason Short from New Zealand is P3 up 0.15 on softs. YH8 Racing is P7 up 0.36. YH8 Racing improved his P7 with a 147.158. 2.915 off pole. Jason Short is provisional pole with a 143.747. The race dictator is P3. YH8 Racing is 7th up 0.10. Jason Short is first. Best lap is a 143.747. Johnny Prince from New Zealand is P8 on softs. YH8 Racing is 7th up 0.15. Johnny Prince is P8 up 0.41 on softs. The qualifying session is now in overtime. Johnny Prince improved his P7 with a 146.179. 2.432 off pole. Broadcast bot is 20th. The race session is at Barcelona City. Jason Short is first. Todd from New Zealand is P2 on mediums. The race dictator from New Zealand is third on softs. That Canadian guy from Canada is fourth on mediums. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. Jason Short from New Zealand is second on mediums. The race dictator is P3. Jason Short is second. Jason Short passed Todd for first. Todd is second. That Canadian guy is P3. The race dictator is P4. Todd is second. Todd passed Jason Short for first. Jason Short is P2 on mediums, 0.1 behind Todd. Jason Short lost third to the race dictator. That Canadian guy is P2 on mediums, 0.3 ahead of the race dictator. That Canadian guy lost second to the race dictator. The race dictator is third, 0.2 behind that Canadian guy. That Canadian guy is second, 1.0 behind Todd. Jason Short on lap 2 is fourth, 0.3 behind the race dictator. Jason Short is now sixth. That Canadian guy from Canada is P2, 0.9 behind Todd. Illis from New Zealand is fourth on softs, 0.6 behind YH8 Racing. That Canadian guy is second, 0.6 behind Todd. YH8 Racing from New Zealand is fourth on hards, 0.5 behind Illis. That Canadian guy is P2, 0.7 behind Todd. YH8 Racing is P4, 0.6 ahead of Johnny Prince. The race dictator exiting pits on hards. That Canadian guy on lap 3 is second, 0.5 behind Todd. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Johnny Prince from New Zealand is P5 on softs, 0.3 behind YH8 Racing. That Canadian guy is second, 1.0 behind Todd. Jason Short on lap 3 is 7th, 0.7 behind Chris Budd. Johnny Prince from New Zealand is P3, 0.2 ahead of that Canadian guy. Gillis exiting pits on mediums. That Canadian guy is 4th, 0.6 behind Johnny Prince. Johnny Prince on lap 4 is P3, 0.6 ahead of that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince is now second. YH8 Racing is P4, 0.1 behind that Canadian guy. Chris Budd from New Zealand is P6 on hards, 0.4 behind Jason Short. YH8 Racing is 4th, 0.9 behind that Canadian guy. YH8 Racing lost 4th to Jason Short. Chris Budd is P5 on hards, 0.6 behind YH8 Racing. Chris Budd was 2.6 faster last lap. YH8 Racing is 4th, 0.6 ahead of Chris Budd. Chris Budd on lap 5 is P5, 0.2 behind YH8 Racing. Johnny Prince exiting pits on mediums. Chris Budd passed YH8 Racing for P4. YH8 Racing is P5. Chris Budd is P4, 1.0 ahead of YH8 Racing. Chris Budd was 7.0 faster last lap. YH8 Racing is 5th, 1.3 behind Chris Budd. Chris Budd is 4th. Best lap is a 1:46.312. 1.539 off the fastest lap. Chris Budd is now 3rd. YH8 Racing is P4, 2.4 behind Chris Budd. Chris Budd is 3rd, 2.8 behind Jason Short. 10 minutes remaining in the session. That Canadian guy exiting pits on hards. YH8 Racing is P4. Best lap is a 1:47.814. 3.041 off the fastest lap. Chris Butt is P3, 2.6 ahead of YH8 Racing. YH8 Racing is P4, 3.5 behind Chris Butt. Todd exiting pits on hards. Todd is P2. Todd lost P2 to YH8 Racing. That Canadian guy is 7th on hards, 4.4 behind Johnny Prince. That Canadian guy was 24.2 faster last lap. Chris Butt exiting pits on mediums. Todd is P3 on hards, 1.3 behind YH8 Racing. That Canadian guy is P7. Best lap is a 1:45.153. 0.380 off the fastest lap. Todd is 3rd, 0.3 behind YH8 Racing. That Canadian guy is 7th on hards, 2.2 behind Johnny Prince. Chris Butt is P5 on mediums. That Canadian guy is P7, 0.9 behind Johnny Prince. YH8 Racing exiting pits on mediums. YH8 Racing from New Zealand is P5 on mediums, 0.4 behind Chris Butt. That Canadian guy is P7, 0.4 behind Johnny Prince. That Canadian guy was 3.6 faster last lap. YH8 Racing is 5th, 0.8 behind Chris Butt. YH8 Racing was 21.4 faster last lap. The race dictator on lap 8 is 8th on hards, 3.5 behind Johnny Prince. YH8 Racing is P5, 1.3 behind Chris Butt. 5 minutes remaining in the session. The race dictator is 8th on hards, 2.6 behind Johnny Prince. YH8 Racing is P5, 2.0 behind Chris Budd. The race dictator on lap 9 is P8, 1.3 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator was 19.7 faster last lap. YH8 Racing is 5th, 2.5 behind Chris Budd. The race dictator from New Zealand is P8, 1.0 behind Johnny Prince. YH8 Racing is 5th, 2.2 behind Chris Budd. Chris Budd was 23.9 faster last lap. Jason Short exiting pits on softs. The race dictator is 8th, 0.8 behind Johnny Prince. YH8 Racing is 5th. Best lap is a 1:47.287. 2.776 off the fastest lap. The race dictator is 8th. Best lap is a 1:46.458. 1.947 off the fastest lap. YH8 Racing from New Zealand is P5, 2.9 behind Chris Budd. Johnny Prince is P8 on mediums, 0.7 behind the race dictator. Jason Short is P3 on softs. Best lap is a 1:44.773. 0.262 off the fastest lap. Johnny Prince is 8th, 0.7 behind the race dictator. Jason Short is 3rd, 2.5 behind Illisp. Johnny Prince is P8, 1.0 behind the race dictator. Jason Short is 3rd, 1.0 behind Illisp. YH8 Racing is P5, 4.6 behind Chris Budd. Jason Short from New Zealand is third, 0.4 behind Illisf. Illisf was 23.0 faster last lap. YH8 Racing is 6th, 0.2 behind that Canadian guy. YH8 Racing entering the pits is 8th. The Race Dictator is 7th. Jason Short from New Zealand is third, 0.3 behind Illisf. The Race Dictator is P7. The leader has just finished the race. Todd finished first. Jason Short is second. Jason Short finished second. Illisf finished P3. Chris Budd finished P4. That Canadian guy finished 5th. Johnny Prince is 6th. Johnny Prince finished P6. The Race Dictator finished 7th. Broadcast bot is P9. The race session is at Barcelona City. The Race Dictator from New Zealand is first on mediums. Johnny Prince from New Zealand is second on softs. That Canadian guy from Canada is P3 on mediums. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. That Canadian guy lost 7th to YH8 Racing. Johnny Prince is P2. Todd from New Zealand is P3 on mediums. Johnny Prince is second. Todd is third. Johnny Prince is P2. Todd is third. Todd passed Johnny Prince for P2. Johnny Prince is P3. Johnny Prince passed Todd for P2. Johnny Prince is now P7. Jason Short from New Zealand on lap 2 is P3 on mediums, 0.6 behind Chris Butt. Chris Butt from New Zealand is third on hards, battling Jason Short. Illis exiting pits on mediums. That Canadian guy is fifth, 0.5 behind YH8 Racing. Chris Butt from New Zealand is P3, 0.3 ahead of YH8 Racing. YH8 Racing from New Zealand is P4 on hards, 0.1 behind Chris Butt. That Canadian guy is 6th, 0.1 behind Todd. That Canadian guy is now P4. YH8 Racing is 5th, 0.9 ahead of Chris Butt. That Canadian guy on lap 2 is P4, 0.5 behind Todd. Chris Butt from New Zealand is P6, 0.2 behind YH8 Racing. Chris Butt lost 6th to Johnny Prince. That Canadian guy is 4th, 0.5 behind Todd. Todd was 4.0 faster last lap. Jason Short is P2 on mediums, 0.9 behind the race dictator. That Canadian guy from Canada is 4th, 0.7 behind Todd. "15 minutes remaining in the session. Todd is third, 0.4 ahead of that Canadian guy. Todd is now second. Jason Short from New Zealand is fifth, 0.6 behind Johnny Prince. Jason Short lost fifth to that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince is fourth, 2.5 behind YH8 Racing. Chris Butt is P8 on hards, 4.0 behind Jason Short. That Canadian guy exiting pits on hards. That Canadian guy is 8th on hards, 0.8 behind Chris Butt. Johnny Prince on lap 4 is 4th, 2.3 behind YH8 Racing. YH8 Racing was 1.6 faster last lap. That Canadian guy on lap 4 is 8th, 0.6 behind Chris Butt. Chris Butt is 8th battling that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince is P4, 1.6 behind YH8 Racing. Chris Butt is P8, 0.7 behind that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince is P4, 1.3 behind YH8 Racing. Johnny Prince was 0.9 faster last lap. Jason Short is 6th, 4.8 behind Illisp. Chris Butt exiting pits on mediums. Johnny Prince is 4th, 0.2 behind YH8 Racing. Jason Short is 6th. Best lap is a 1:46.418. 1.882 off the fastest lap. Illisp from New Zealand is 5th on mediums, 4.1 ahead of Jason Short. Johnny Prince entering the pits is 4th. Illisp passed Johnny Prince for 4th. YH8 Racing is 3rd. Jason Short is P5, 3.6 behind Illisp. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Johnny Prince exiting pits on mediums. Todd is second, 4.5 behind the race dictator. Todd was 1.2 faster last lap. That Canadian guy is sixth on hards, 4.5 behind Jason Short. Chris Butt is P8 on mediums. The race dictator exiting pits on hards. Todd is P3. Todd exiting pits on hards. Illisp is P4, 1.2 behind Todd. That Canadian guy on lap 7 is 6th, 1.4 behind Jason Short. Illisp is 4th, 2.3 behind Todd. Illisp was 3.1 faster last lap. Jason Short is P6, 0.4 behind that Canadian guy. Illisp from New Zealand is 4th, 2.8 behind Todd. Chris Butt is P8. Best lap is a 150.277. 5.752 off the fastest lap. Illisp is 4th, 3.2 behind Todd. Todd is P3 on hards, 3.8 ahead of Illisp. Illisp was 20.6 faster last lap. Illisp is P4, 4.4 behind Todd. The race dictator from New Zealand is P2 on hards, 3.0 behind YH8 Racing. The race dictator passed YH8 Racing for first. Illisp is 4th, 0.9 behind YH8 Racing. Illisp passed YH8 Racing for third. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Todd from New Zealand is second, 2.4 behind the race dictator. YH8 Racing entering the pits is P5. Jason Short entering the pits is 6th. That Canadian guy on lap 9 is 4th, 3.6 behind Illisf. Jason Short exiting pits on softs. Todd is P2, 2.5 behind the race dictator. That Canadian guy is P4, 2.8 behind Illisf. YH8 Racing exiting pits on hards. Johnny Prince is 5th. Johnny Prince lost 5th to Jason Short. Chris Bunnett is 7th, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. Todd is P2, 1.7 behind the race dictator. Todd was 0.9 faster last lap. Chris Bunnett is P7, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. Todd is P2, 1.2 behind the race dictator. Chris Bunnett is P7, 0.8 behind Johnny Prince. Todd is second. Best lap is a 1:44.536. 0.011 off the fastest lap. That Canadian guy is 4th, 0.4 behind Illisf. That Canadian guy was 1.1 faster last lap. Todd is second on hards, 0.8 behind the race dictator. Chris Bunnett is P7, 0.6 behind Johnny Prince. Chris Bunnett was 21.5 faster last lap. Todd is second, 0.7 behind the race dictator. Chris Bunnett is 7th, 0.2 behind Johnny Prince. Todd is P2. Illisf is P4. leader has just finished the race. The race dictator finished P1. Todd finished second. That Canadian guy finished third. Illis finished fourth. Jason Short is P5. Jason Short finished P5. Johnny Prince finished 6th. Chris Butt finished 7th. YH8 Racing is 8th. YH8 Racing finished 8th. Broadcast bot is 9th.